All right, welcome everyone. Today we're diving into some seriously fascinating spiritual teachings.
Hmm.
We're looking at this text called 9 2024 Murli English.txt.
Okay.
And it gets into some pretty heavy stuff, like
Hmm.
reincarnation, a cyclical view of history,
Mhm.
and this thing called the confluence age.
Right.
It's dense.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is, but it's also super interesting. So we're here to break it all down, make it a little easier to digest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what really struck me about this text is how it presents this different way of thinking about the soul's journey.
Hmm.
It frames it all within this vast cycle of creation and destruction.
Okay.
It's a perspective you don't really see every day.
Yeah, and one of the first things that jumped out at me was this idea that souls spend this long time, like thousands of years, 5,000 years is what they say,
Wow.
separated from what they call the Father, a supreme soul. And then at this specific point, they reunite. What do you think? What are the implications of this separation and reunion?
Well, that's where the whole concept of reincarnation comes in.
Right.
This idea that souls are constantly cycling through these lifetimes, experiencing happiness and sorrow.
Hmm.
And it's all part of this grand cosmic drama,
Yeah.
and the separation from the Father is like a key part of that whole cycle.
So we're all these souls just on this incredible journey through time, taking on these different roles in each lifetime.
Exactly.
But then what's it all for? What's the purpose?
Well, that's where this confluence age comes in.
Okay.
The text describes it as this unique period within the cycle where the Father, this supreme soul, actually descends to impart knowledge,
Oh, wow.
to like revitalize souls.
Mm.
And this knowledge, they say, is like the key to achieving liberation from this whole cycle of reincarnation.
So what is this confluence age exactly? And what kind of knowledge are we talking about here?
Well, the text describes the confluence age as like this turning point
Okay.
in the whole cycle. It's the time when the Father makes himself known. He offers this direct connection.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because it kind of contrasts with other ways people seek out spiritual connection.
Right, right. And they talk about Raja Yoga too, right?
Yes.
How does that fit into all of this?
So Raja Yoga, the way it's described in the text is like the path to reconnect with the Father during this confluence age.
Okay.
It really emphasizes purity in thought, purity in action, and constant remembrance of the Father. It's about belonging to him and detaching from all these worldly attachments.
So it's not just about getting this knowledge passively, it's about like actually living it.
Exactly.
What would that look like in practice though?
Well, it's about striving for this purity, physically, but also in terms of your thoughts, your intentions. It's recognizing that the material world is temporary
Okay.
and focusing on that eternal connection with the Father.
It sounds like a pretty huge shift in perspective.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
It kind of challenges our conventional ideas about success and fulfillment, and it really urges us to put this spiritual connection above everything else.
They also mention a teacher in the text.
Yes.
Who is that? What's their role in all of this?
The teacher is, well, it's fascinating.
Okay.
The text describes a single encounter with the teacher as being enough to lead to salvation.
Oh, wow.
Like it has this incredibly powerful role in facilitating this connection with the Father.
So this teacher seems to be a really crucial link. But if this knowledge is so important, why hasn't it spread more widely?
Right.
Why is there still so much suffering and confusion in the world?
Well, the text actually addresses that. It highlights the importance of language.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the Father is said to use a specific language.
Okay.
And the fact that we have all these different languages on Earth is like a sign of our separation, our disconnection from this pure form of communication.
So like the Tower of Babel all over again.
It's kind of like that, yeah. It points towards this future where maybe there's just this single unified language.
So are we talking about a world without any sorrow or confusion, where everyone just understands each other perfectly because they're all speaking this universal language?
Well, the text uses the image of the kingdom of Lakshmi and Narayan to describe this future state.
Okay.
And it paints this picture of a world where purity and happiness are just everywhere and sorrow is banished.
Wow.
It's a powerful image.
It is. And one thing I noticed is how much the text emphasizes actively engaging with these teachings. It's not just about sitting back and listening.
Right. There's this big focus on staying alert, asking questions, actively seeking out this connection with the Father.
Yeah, it even like discourages passive listening during these spiritual gatherings.
Exactly. It's not about blindly following rituals or beliefs.
Right.
It's about really engaging with the teachings and striving for this direct connection. The text actually compares the learning process to earning wealth.
Oh, that's interesting.
It highlights the kind of excitement and focus that should accompany it.
Yeah, you're definitely not yawning when you're about to get paid.
Exactly.
What else does the text say about actively engaging with these teachings?
Well, it stresses the importance of observing the teacher. The text describes the teacher as being present in the physical realm. They talk about this chariot or a physical body.
Oh, okay.
So it suggests that there's something real, something tangible to interact with.
Right.
Not just this distant, abstract concept.
So this teacher is right here in the world, and we're supposed to, like, actually see and engage with them.
Yes. It's a really different approach to spiritual learning than what we often see.
That's for sure. It does make you think about all those traditional spiritual gatherings where people are just, passively listening,
Right.
not really engaging in this active way.
Exactly.
But I have to ask, this idea of the Father needing a chariot, a physical body to teach, why would the Supreme Being need that? Why couldn't they just impart this knowledge directly to us?
That's really one of the most fascinating parts of all this.
Right.
It suggests that even a divine being needs to, take on this physical form to actually interact with us down here.
Yeah, right.
It really emphasizes the tangible stuff, the observable stuff, which I think sets it apart from a lot of teachings that are all about, inner contemplation.
Yeah, it does kind of make you wonder about those traditional gatherings.
Yeah.
Where everyone's just focused on listening passively.
Right.
And not so much on this active engagement.
Exactly. And the text really warns against that passive listening. It stresses how important it is to be alert, to be present.
Right.
It even compares it, again, to earning wealth.
No, interesting.
There should be that level of excitement and focus.
Yeah, you're not going to be dozing off if you're about to get a big bonus.
Exactly.
And speaking of earning, I noticed the text mentions some pretty specific instructions for those who decide to follow this path.
Especially about keeping things pure, maintaining that purity.
Yeah, purity is a huge theme here.
Right.
It's not just about avoiding physical impurity, but also keeping your thoughts and actions pure.
Right.
The Father, according to the text, really emphasizes this, that once you get this knowledge and commit to this path, you shouldn't let your heart get attached to anything else.
So aligning your whole life with these teachings?
Exactly.
Inside and out.
It's all about that single-pointed focus on the Father and this path. And they even talk about, consequences for straying from that commitment.
Oh, like what?
They mention this 100-fold punishment.
Oh, wow.
So the stakes are high.
That sounds intense, some serious karmic debt.
Yeah.
But if we go back to this whole world cycle thing,
Right.
they also say that this whole existence is like a play.
Yeah.
With these predetermined roles for all of us.
That's where things get really interesting. This idea that existence is this grand drama and everyone has their part to play.
Happiness, sorrow, all of it. It's all written into the script.
Right.
The suggestion is that everything, even the hard stuff, has a purpose in this bigger plan.
So we're all just actors playing our parts.
Exactly.
Even the tough ones.
And it even goes further than that.
Oh, how so?
The text suggests that the parts we play, the things we go through, they repeat across multiple cycles.
Wow. So you mean...
Those 84 births they talk about.
Right.
They're not just random. They're like recurring patterns in this big drama.
So we're stuck in this loop.
Kind of.
Making the same mistake.
And experiencing the same joys until we finally break free.
And that's where this knowledge comes in.
That's the path.
Raja Yoga.
The Father comes at this confluence age to give us this understanding, to help us see this cycle for what it is, to recognize ourselves as souls and make choices that lead to liberation.
So we can escape this cycle.
It's like realizing you're in a play and finally being able to write your own ending.
Powerful stuff. The text also mentions destruction a lot. Are we talking end of the world stuff here?
They're a bit vague on the specifics,
Right.
But destruction is definitely presented as a necessary part of the cycle. It's not something to be afraid of.
Right.
It's more like a transition,
Okay.
a cleansing,
To make way for something new.
to make way for that kingdom of Lakshmi and Narayan.
Right, that ideal state.
Exactly.
So not so much a fiery apocalypse,
Correct.
more like a cosmic reset.
Yeah, out with the old, in with the new.
And what's interesting is that this new world,
Yeah.
it's not just something that happens to us.
Right.
We're creating it.
Through our choices, through our efforts to remember the Father, and to actually live by this knowledge.
So we're building it brick by brick.
Exactly.
But if everyone in this new world is enlightened, how does this whole concept of status fit in?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
The text links status in this new world to service. Your status is based on how much you really take in this knowledge and share it with others.
So it's not about personal gain, it's about contributing to the collective.
Exact.
So it's like a spiritual hierarchy
Yeah,
based on service and understanding.
not on worldly achievements or anything like that.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It's all about giving back.
Right.
The more you give, the higher your status.
But if this knowledge disappears after the confluence age, what about everyone who comes after?
Right.
Do they just miss out?
That's a great question. And honestly, the text doesn't really address it directly. It does say that the cycle continues, souls keep reincarnating.
Right.
So maybe this knowledge comes back around in a different form at some point.
Like a cosmic game of hide and seek.
Yeah, it's hidden until the time is right.
But they also mention Shiva and a temple.
Oh, yes.
What's that all about?
That's where the Hindu imagery really comes in.
Okay.
They use the temple of Shiva as this metaphor for this new world, this pure, happy kingdom. It suggests that those who follow this path, the true Raja Yogis,
Right.
they'll become the masters of this temple.
So not just inheriting it, but actively building and governing it.
Exactly. And they contrast this future state with the way the world is now,
Right.
saying that our current reality is influenced by Ravan,
Ravan.
this figure who represents negativity and sorrow.
Oh, I see.
It's like this classic battle between good and evil, but on this huge cosmic scale.
And good wins in the end.
Right. Ravan is defeated and sorrow is banished.
That's the vision
It's a message of hope, of transformation.
of a world without suffering.
Yeah, but it's not passive. It takes effort. It takes understanding.
Right. A commitment to living by this knowledge.
Exactly.
It's incredibly inspiring. I mean, we've only scratched the surface here.
I know, right.
But I'm struck by how deep these teachings are.
Me too.
But if this knowledge is so transformative, why isn't it more widely known?
That's a good question.
Why hasn't it spread like wildfire?
Maybe this knowledge is meant for a specific time and for certain souls who are ready for it.
Okay.
Or maybe, like the text suggests, we're all part of this grand play.
Right.
And some of us have chosen roles that involve seeking and finding this truth for ourselves.
Like a cosmic treasure hunt.
Yeah, where the prize is ultimate liberation.
With all this talk about remembering our true selves as souls,
Right.
I can't help but wonder, what are the things in our lives that might be blocking that connection?
That's a good question.
And how can we bring in more purity and remembrance into our everyday actions?
Those are really deep questions.
Yeah.
And they get right to the heart of what this teaching is all about.
Right. It's not just about knowing stuff.
It's about applying it, transforming ourselves,
Becoming who we really are.
uncovering our true nature as souls.
So how do we do that?
Right. How do we actually live this?
How do we cultivate that purity and remembrance every single day?
Well, the text does offer some clues.
Okay.
Remember those instructions they give to the Raja Yogi students?
Yeah.
It's all about aligning our thoughts, our words, our actions with this knowledge.
Right.
Detaching from those worldly desires. Keeping our hearts pure.
Right.
And focusing on the Father.
That sounds like a big change from how most of us live.
It is. It definitely challenges a lot of what we think we know.
Like, we're supposed to just forget everything about success and happiness as we know it.
Yeah, kind of. It's about this deeper connection.
To this supreme soul.
Right. It's a whole different perspective.
It really is. But what's interesting is
Yeah.
the text makes it sound like this shift, this remembrance, it's not about deprivation.
No, not at all.
It's about finding a deeper, more lasting kind of joy.
Exactly. A different kind of power.
But how do we even start?
Right. It all seems so abstract.
So otherworldly.
Well, that's where the practices of Raja Yoga come into play.
Okay.
Remember, it's not just an idea. It's a path
Right.
with techniques to help us cultivate that inner connection.
Like what kind of techniques?
Practices to calm the mind, to purify the heart, to focus our attention.
On the divine.
Yeah, it's like a workout routine for the soul.
I like that.
And just like any workout,
Yeah.
It takes effort, it takes discipline, it takes showing up consistently.
They also mention the Father using a specific language.
Oh,
What's the significance of that?
well, it connects back to that idea of a unified world.
Right.
The text suggests that all these languages we have on Earth,
Yeah.
they represent our separation, our disconnection from our true nature.
Okay.
And it points towards this future where everyone speaks this same language.
Like a universal language.
A language of the soul, a language of purity, a language of understanding.
So language itself is a barrier.
In a way, yes. Keeping us divided?
It's about recognizing our shared humanity.
Right.
Our interconnectedness as souls.
And this connection, this unity,
Yeah.
it's not just some fantasy.
No.
It's who we really are.
Exactly.
This has been a wild ride.
It really has.
We've explored so much. The cycle of existence, the confluence age, Raja Yoga.
The importance of knowledge, remembrance, this vision of a world without sorrow.
It's a lot to take in.
But the biggest thing for me
Yeah.
is realizing that we have a choice.
Absolutely.
We're not just along for this cosmic ride.
We're active participants.
In our own liberation.
That's the most empowering message of all this.
It's not about escaping the world.
It's about transforming it.
Bringing heaven down to earth.
Exactly. And it starts with each of us.
Cultivating that purity, that remembrance.
In our own lives.
And then sharing that light with the world.
Beautifully said.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It really has.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
The real adventure starts now.
As we take these insights
And apply them to our lives.
Striving for that connection, that purity, that remembrance.
That leads us back to who we truly are.
Until next time.
Keep seeking.
Keep questioning.
Keep remembering.
The path to liberation is always open.
Waiting for us to take that first step.